Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another exciting edition of Pardon Our Picks, where perfection is a work in progress, the holiday special. Uh, I'm Sam, of course, and alongside me, as always, is our red-headed, red-bearded, beautiful friend, Tarik. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, Sam. How you doing, my shaved, close-cut head friend?
That's right, kind of shiny, too.
Mm,
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good.
I love the shiny.
Yes. This, of course, is brought to you by Morningwood Crafter, morningwoodcrafter.com. Inspired by design, crafted by hand. Go there for all of your woodworking needs. Uh, man, what a crazy week. The Jets finally got a win in the most unbelievable place.
No one expected that. I mean, this is actually, I think, more unprecedented than the Redskins. Sorry, they're not the Redskins anymore. The Washington football team dethroning the undefeated Steelers. Like, this is just crazy.
Absolutely. And both of them were shocking, but the Jets getting that win against a team that was leading their division, a tough division. That's a strong team they beat. And not only did they beat them, they were up by I think it was 10 points going into the final minutes.
Right.
So, I mean, and then of course you had the Bengals going in and beating the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
That division is going to come down to the last week.
Totally. And it's like we were talking about last week with Brady. Steelers' Achilles heel has obviously been shown. Like, there's a giant magnifying glass on it now. It's like everyone knows how to defeat them, and they were the undefeated team, as we've already mentioned. Like,
it's
crazy.
It is. It's crazy. But, yes. Quite frankly, I think the Cowboys may have shown their biggest weakness, and it's forcing Ben Roethlisberger to throw the ball now because they haven't run the ball. They can't run the ball anymore. It's not something they've done, and you can't just jump right back into it because it's the process.
Well, you got the process. You also got age. Like,
yeah,
Roethlisberger, I think, is older than we are.
Yeah.
And so we're in our mid-30s now. We've been watching Roethlisberger since we were in our teens. Like, this is, like, he's not a spring chicken. There's a reason why, like, Brady went down to Florida to play.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Manning quit. He retired.
Yeah.
There's a reason why these aged quarterbacks, like, we don't hear about other Manning. Like, all these quarterbacks from, like, our era of football, they're all starting to age, and you can't take that beating anymore. You can't throw that much. I mean, we talk about throwing even with Lamar Jackson, who's a young pup. He's in his early 20s.
Yeah.
We're talking about him not throwing too much because it's too much. And you're expecting that same thing on an aged quarterback who's done it through 5 Super Bowls? How many Super Bowls has he won?
Ben Roethlisberger?
Been in? Yeah.
Ben's been in
3.
3, yeah. I think I had this discussion with somebody not that long ago. It was 3, and he won 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you're right, and it seems like we're coming to a point where we have a large changing of the guard. We got all of these older, aging quarterbacks that are about to retire. Superstars.
Drew Brees,
Aaron Rodgers is 37.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Roethlisberger. Tom Brady, of course. And then you got these really young guys coming in here who are lighting it up.
Mm-hmm.
They're at. So we're gonna have another renaissance of QBs.
Oh yeah.
But there's a huge age gap. So those guys are gonna be in the league for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a lot of good football to look forward to.
Yeah, because you got these guys here, they're having to come in and just hit the ground running like we always talk about. What is the best method to bring in a quarterback? Is it the Packers way that they did with Favre to Rodgers, and Rodgers is this new guy where they like just let him sit behind the scenes for a couple of years? Or do we do like what Peyton Manning and Tom Brady did and what Broncos are doing with Locke, what the Colts did with Luck, like just throw them in and see how far they get.
Right. And it's a difference in philosophy. In the old guard, that was how they always did it, is they had the guy sit for a season or two to get up to speed. But nowadays, these quarterbacks coming out of college, they're ready. They're up to speed. They can handle it.
Yeah.
Well, most of them.
If not, that's when they falter. We see them like Ryan Leaf that don't make it.
Yeah,
So
Ryan
because
Leaf.
it's a transition from 12 games to 16 games, and you got bigger guys and faster guys and stronger guys, and I mean, look at RG3 who's now back up on the Ravens. Like he was supposed to be one of these breakout people, and he was for a hot minute.
Yeah.
But he got too cocky trying to play it like college ball, hyperextended his knee. He's not the same quarterback anymore.
Yeah, you got, and for every success story that you have, for the Mannings, you have the Leafs. For the Bradys, you have the Jamarcus Russells, the first round picks. It's just they couldn't cut it, and some of it's mental, some of it's they couldn't catch up to the speed difference. So, but with that being said, let's go on to our records. It looks like an 11-5 week for me. Putting me one game ahead again. Tarik and of course our special guest from the previous week, Brady, both 10-6. Admirable, pretty damn good.
Yeah, I'm not upset about that record at all. And Brady had some much different picks than I did.
Yeah, he did.
So he picks some out of the wall stuff, and it still got him a winning record. So.
And some of that stuff he picked panned out, some of it didn't, but that's what happens. But it was a pretty exciting week last week with with the ups and downs, there were some nobody saw. The Jets, the Bengals, nobody saw those coming. So, all right, let's get to Tarik's game of the week.
So this one was a hard pick for me this week. We're getting to the nitty gritty. It's not just records. It's not just who we think is going to be a good game. I'm looking at okay, who's going to get where, who needs these victories. And so the one that kind of stuck out to me are the Colts or the Steelers. I'm interested to see what the Steelers are going to do. They've been hit on the chin. They're showing up, but I mean, this is a winning coach. This is a winning team. They've been doing it for years. They know it's one of these established things we already talked about with the old guard. You've got that system who may be able to bounce back and still save themselves within the division. And then you have the Colts vying in the hunt for a playoff spot, for a wild card spot. I don't think they can win the division.
Yes, they can.
They can. Okay, they can. Fantastic. So they can win it themselves. So this is a very big game for both of them. Steelers saying they're still viable. Colts saying they can make it again since Luck. So I think this is going to be a very good game where I'm interested. Well, correction. I think it's either going to be really good or it's going to be very one-sided. I'm not sure which way this is going to play out. We'll see. I think we'll see very early on how it's going to go. I don't think this is going to be a wait and see. I think it's as soon as we see how they come out running, it's going to determine where this is going to go.
Right.
With that, I believe I have the Colts.
Colts?
Yes, I do. I have the Colts coming out in this one. I think they're hitting their stride at the right point. They talk about this every year. They're hitting their stride at the right point. They're ready for it. They're winning a little bit more when it matters. Steelers are going the other direction. I don't know that they can steer the ship back at this point. I think too many people see this, and I don't know if they can patch this hole yet. So I'm going with Indianapolis.
Indianapolis, they're getting a little bit of feedback here. They're hitting their stride. They're doing really well right now, and they're tied for the division lead. But of course, because of tiebreakers, they are not the division leaders. Tennessee has a really tough one coming up that we'll discuss later. But in Pittsburgh, he said it's going the wrong way. Now, this is a great pick for Game of the Week, I got to say, because both of these have division division champion implications. The Colts win and the Tennessee Titans lose, the Colts are in first. The Steelers lose and the Browns win. Next week they're playing for the division. So it's coming down to it. And the Steelers, like we said, they can't run the ball. Indianapolis, yeah, I did that. Indianapolis, they're running the ball well. Their defenses, it's hard hitting, and they're getting to the quarterback, and they're forcing teams to beat them. And you know what? They're forcing teams to beat them in their way. So,
yeah,
I'm not a big fan of Phillip Rivers.
Really. No, not at all. And I'm not as big of a Colts fan as I used to be. I've leaned more toward Denver, and then I root for the local team with Baltimore. And most of our fans are Baltimore fans, and I think most of them are going to want to root for. I'm not sure who they want to root for. I guess Indy, because if the Steelers go down, they have a better shot in their division and getting. If the Steelers lose out, that might help them get in that wild card spot. So,
well, this week I think they're rooting for one of three teams. They're rooting for, first and foremost, the Raiders. Secondly, they're rooting for the Jets. And then if neither of those teams win, they're going to meekly and quietly root for the Steelers to win.
in the back of their closet, in the pit of their hearts.
But in this game, I have Indianapolis winning this game and forcing both of these teams to really play the final game of the year.
Yep.
So one or both of these teams could get a home game. I'm thinking one of them ends up with that home game. Indianapolis awesome. For the victory here. Let's move on to our next game, another playoff implication game. The 9-5 Dolphins going into Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas technically still has a chance to make the playoffs. They would have to win out. The Dolphins would have to lose out. And the Ravens would, I believe, also have to lose out. I think that they have the tiebreaker over Vegas. Considering this is such a big implication for all of these teams involved, going into Vegas, and Vegas has looked mediocre at best the past couple of weeks. They got beat in overtime by a Chargers team that I didn't, and I had been picking the Chargers team throughout the year, and they burned me just about every time I picked them. I didn't pick them last week, and they won. They burned me again. So, but in this week, the Dolphins, they got a good defense. The running game did really well last week. I don't see that happening as well this week because they're not playing a team that's just done. Patriots. But I have Vegas pulling off the upset in this one.
I have the exact same thing. I must have been looking at it the same way you have. I think they're like both of these teams are chomping on the bit. Neither one of these teams usually make the playoffs, and they both have a potential here. So this is one of my runner-ups. Was going to be one of my runner-ups for game of the week here. I think it's going to be more exciting than it looks. I think, I went back and forth on who's going to win this because it's kind of like the last game we talked about. Miami's kind of on the uphill, and Las Vegas is kind of on the downhill. And Vegas has been up and down this year. They started off really well, and then they kind of roller coastered. So, not really sure, but I'm going with Vegas. I think it's going to come down to the wire, but I think Vegas is going to pull it out.
I agree. It's definitely going to come down to the wire. This game is going to be very interesting to watch. And speaking of interesting games to watch, we have another division game between the 9-5 Rams going against the 10-4 Seahawks. Now, this one also has division-leading implications, considering the Rams hold the tiebreaker over the Seahawks right now because they have the first victory. If they get this, then they only have to win Week 17 to win the division. Whoever wins this game has a chance to win the division. Seahawks, of course, will win it outright if they won this game. But the Rams, I think they got embarrassed last week by the Jets, and I think they're going to come in here hot. But I think the Seahawks are going to be just a little too much for them this week. I have the Seahawks winning at home.
I completely agree. I think the Seahawks are just a little bit better, while Rams have have proven a good team and made a really good division out of this year. Like the NFC West is just fantastic this year.
Yeah.
So they've done really well with that. I just don't think they quite have it for this game. I think Seahawks are just got a couple more pieces together with this one. I think they're just ready for it a little bit more at this time of the year. I'm going with Seattle.
Now, I will say this. The Rams are pretty much a shoo-in at this point to make the playoffs.
Right.
So
they might not be trying as hard as they would.
Right. So, all right. So let's move on to another interesting game. We have the 5-9 Broncos going against the 5-9 LA Chargers. The Chargers won last week in overtime, as we said, against the Vegas Raiders. The Broncos beat the Carolina Panthers last week, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So, I mean, both these teams coming off victories. Drew Lock looked pretty good. Herbert looked pretty good. This is a classic game where the Chargers are they're gonna lose. They're gonna find a way to lose this game. This is what happens with this team. They find ways to lose games. Most of their losses, one score. They've been close in most of their games.
Yeah. And that's when it gets frustrating.
Their defense can't hold it.
No.
And Denver's defense can.
Denver's defense can, and Denver is, even though they're eliminated, they got eliminated last week. Even though they're eliminated, they're getting pieces in play. They're playing for pride now. They got nothing else. Drew Lock is trying to cement himself as a quarterback of the future. I think he's doing a good job with it. Without key pieces, they lost key pieces straight off the gate this year. So they lost core wide receivers. They lost core defensive men. And they've still, while it's not a winning record, they did better. They've done better. If they can win out, it'll be a better record than the last, 5 years since Manning retired. So I think that they're just playing for pride. This is a division game. I think it's going to be good for them. It's going to be good for Denver fans and stuff to watch this. I think Denver is going to win this. I think they just got a couple more pieces and a little bit more, even though no playoff implications, they got a little bit more to fight for with this game.
I agree. They're going to be a dangerous team next year. I think both of these teams could be very dangerous next year, depending on who the Chargers pick up in the offseason. The Broncos, more so who they're able to get healthy.
Right, yeah, healthy is going to be because they did a really good draft this year. So they got a couple of those pieces. KJ Hamler is doing really well. Jerry Jeudy, I think he's still trying to find himself a little bit. So they're building that wide receiver core. They got a good running back core with that. The line's starting to hold. I think they have to just do some fine tuning, get those last couple of places in there, which I think they could do with the offseason and the draft. So we'll see what happens next year for sure. But, yeah, I'm definitely going with Denver in this game.
Yep. All right, let's move on to our next game. The New York Giants fighting for a playoff spot. We lost last week, of course. And the Baltimore Ravens clawing, scratching, just they're on a roll, but they need help.
Yeah, they need help, but they're looking good. They've looked better. I think they're starting to polish a couple of those places that we've all seen, a couple of those blemishes that caused the however many losses in a row, 4 losses in a row they had.
Yeah.
So I think they're starting to. They're looking better. It looks like some of the complaints fans have had starting to be patched up here. Unfortunately, the playoffs are not entirely in their hands. This is one of the situations you got 3 different teams, as you said. They gotta hope, but I think they're just a little too good for the Giants. I don't think the Giants really have a chance in this one. I'm going with Baltimore.
Baltimore, yeah, they don't hold their own destiny in their hands, but they're going to take care of their own business in this game. I don't care that the Giants' defense is pretty darn good. The Ravens' offense is going to be a lot better than their defenses. And, of course, the Giants just have a question marks at quarterback. They're not good at quarterback. And they don't have a running back because he's injured. So, a good team next year, maybe. This year, not so much. Baltimore with the victory. All right, and we move on to the Sunday night game. This is going to be a very good game. they got this one right when they made this schedule. They have the number 1 seed right now, Green Bay Packers, at home against the Tennessee Titans in that run offense. God, I look forward to watching this game. I don't care if I'm tired the next day when I go in bed. I'm gonna sit there.
I'll probably only get half. I'll probably only get the first half, but we'll see how far I can get in this one. But yeah, this is going to be really good. This is. I don't think any of us saw it come in. Maybe we kind of guessed with how Tennessee ended the year last year, but yeah, this is going to be not divisional, not even regional. We got different conferences in this one, but I think we got one of the best teams in each conference going at it. I think this is like almost kind of a mini Super Bowl. This could be the Super Bowl. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be really good, but I got Green Bay pulling it out.
Absolutely. This could be a Super Bowl matchup, just like last week where we had the Chiefs and the Saints go at it, which was a pretty good game.
Yeah.
With Drew Brees hurt. But this one, you got you got Aaron Rodgers, who struggled a little bit last week. You got the Titans, you got who can come from behind. They can run the ball. They almost came from behind against Cleveland a couple weeks ago, but they didn't, which is why they're in this spot right now where they need to win out. This is going to be a really good game. And I got Green Bay winning it, but it's going to be exciting, folks.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to our quick hitters. I love that picture, by the way.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you do that just for me?
No, that's been there the entire year. So I look for.
Though. I guess I haven't seen it through your head most of the first half of the year.
That's true. I do have a large head. But I just looked up big hits online and I found that. So
not a bad one.
Yeah. All right, let's start with those Saints at home against the Vikings. Long shots for the playoffs. I have the Saints ending their hopes.
Yes, I do too. I think with especially Drew Brees back, he's hurt, but it's back, and I think it just adds a morale booster. I'm going with New Orleans.
Absolutely. All right, we have the San Francisco 49ers eliminated last week, going against the 7th seed currently, the Cardinals, who are trying to hold off the Bears. I have the Cardinals in this one, though.
I do too. I have Cardinals, like you said, San Francisco's out. Arizona's still kind of fighting for it. Arizona.
All right, the fighting Tom Brady's going into Detroit to play the Detroit Lions, of course. I have the.
Is that a really good place to pause? They're going into Detroit to fight.
Detroit.
The Poconos.
I have Tom Brady in this one.
Yeah, I've got the Tom Brady's in this one as well.
All right, let's move on to a divisional matchup. The Cowboys and Eagles, technically both still in it for the division. They would need Washington to lose out, and they would need to win out, and all kinds of weird stuff would need to happen. In this game, though, I do have the Eagles pulling out the victory.
No, and we've come to our first disagreement of the night so far here. I'm going with Dallas. Dallas is starting to hit a stride. I'm interested to see how they fight for it. So I'm going with Dallas on this one.
Yeah, I almost went Dallas, and I'm like, Jalen Hurts actually looked pretty decent. He should pull this one out. Let's move on to the 4-10 Atlanta Falcons going into the number 1 seed in the AFC, Kansas City. I got Kansas City.
Why wouldn't you? Yes, Kansas City.
Absolutely. All right, the 10-4 Cleveland Browns going against those feisty Jets. Who do you got?
I don't think the Jets can pull it off again. I'm going with Cleveland.
I absolutely going with Cleveland as well, keeping the Jets grounded at 1-13. Another 1-13 team, of course, the Jaguars hosting the Bears, who are hoping the Cardinals lose at some point and they win out because the Bears hold the tiebreaker. I got the Bears in this one.
I've got the Bears too.
All right. Let's move on to the 3-10-1 Bengals, who got the victory against the Steelers last week, even with a third-string quarterback, going against Houston this week.
Yeah, I've got Houston.
I also have Houston in this game, and we have the Washington football team at home. A winner here eliminates 2 teams in the division at least. If New York loses, it wins in the division outright. the Carolina Panthers. I got Washington win.
I've got Washington.
All right, in our Monday night game, the Bills at 11-3 technically still have a chance at the first seed, but I don't see them getting it. But they do get the victory here.
Yep, I'm going Buffalo on this one.
All right.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate it. We're getting a couple more viewers every week. We're trying. We're bringing stuff up. So if you like it, leave the like, leave a comment, tell us we're right, tell us we're wrong. Leave your thoughts in there. Give us any surprises, any feedback you got. We greatly appreciate it. Hit subscribe, hit the bell if you want. And as always, I'm Tarik.
And I'm Sam. And you guys have a great holiday and football weekend.
Merry Christmas, guys. Happy holidays.